Oh, all right then. However, please inform me as soon as boss returns to school. The problem here is rather troublesome, said Yan Xiaoshu. He couldn't contact Wang Zheng and could only look for Zhang Shan. It seemed that he would not be able to contact boss in the short term. He still had to face the problem head-on. He had originally thought he could get the project directly, however, the people of Tita had arranged for an open bid surprisingly. This had caused Yan Xiaoshu to have a headache. Although Yi Zisu was very confident, it wasn't his first day in the business world. He had to make all-rounded preparations such that he could present himself well to the external parties. Failure might be 1 in 10,000, but he could never afford to fail. The competition for the open bidding of the giant's mobile armor was intensifying. Various major firearms dealers had also showcased their true technical strength. Each of their main designers was among the top in the mecha industry of the entire Milky Way Alliance. As compared to mecha, armor was much simpler. As long as it was suitable for the people of Tita, it would be enough. Everyone could understand that the true intention wasn't about the bidding. Moreover, this was such a clear signal. The people of Tita were nurturing new human partners on this star. Whoever was chosen could penetrate Tita star. Yi Zisu had returned from the Tita tribe. As for what she had gained, it would be secret. The atmosphere in the Lan family was a little heavy. Even Lan Yu had never thought that Mu Sen would still play such a hand. On the surface, it might seem like a good thing that various major firearms dealers were spending so much time and capital on Tita Star. However, if such a strong power was to pour into Tita Titan Star, would it really be a good thing for the people or Tita, or alternatively, the entire Tita Titan Star? This move was equivalent to luring the wolf into the room. If one couldn't kill the wolf, one would be bitten by it instead. Lan Yu managed to find Lan Ling. Matriarch, this thing has further proven that Mu Sen is trying to find trouble. However, I already have a counter for it and would definitely let him know who the masters of Tita Star are. Matriarch, all you have to do is to stay out of it. The rest of the people also supported Lan Yu. With Lan Yu's influence getting stronger, he was also taking the opportunity to override Lan Ling. Lan Ling's personality was too soft and wasn't suitable to be the matriarch. It was just that he still needed her as the face to the external people. Canceling the cooperation, Lan Yu smirked. A group of local bandits had thought they were really something. He had to make sure they would regret it. There was an eternal truth in this world, and that was the opponent of my opponent was my ally. Lan Ling smiled. She obviously knew about the internal and external threats of the Lan family. However, she really felt tired. She missed that brat. Wherever he was, things seemed to get simpler. He was forever so ambitious and happy. With him around, it was interesting no matter how hard the problem was or how tired she was. Yet, all she felt every day now was that living was just like repeating the regular administrative work. What was the meaning behind living then? Sun Shin, cancel all my plans tonight. Matriarch, the plan for tonight was to meet with Mr. Lei of the Thor organization. Sun Shin frowned as she tried her best to remind Lan Ling. Cancel all of them? Lan Ling did not have the mood to do so. Maybe it was time for her to look for Mu Sen and talk about it. The people of Tita cared too much about relationship. Coming to this stage, Lan Ling wanted to know what Mu Sen was intending to do. If he really no longer trusted the Lan family, Lan Ling was also not willing to continue being the matriarch. She had thought about living her own life, for example, going on a trip. Within the abyss, Wang Zheng and Old Zhou were in a heated fight. This wasn't a duel, but they were just helping each other to practice. This type of treatment was priceless. Although Old Zhou wasn't a pure battle type, he was of Earth grade. Moreover, because he wasn't the battle type, he could better consider the whole situation and guide Wang Zheng to discover his own potential. Wang Zheng obviously started with the ice ability. This was also what Old Zhou was great in. Old Zhou's understanding in this aspect was still right on point. One ought to stop thinking of freezing your opponent, as this wasn't practical. At the same time, freezing had extremely lots of requirements on the environment. If the environment was too hot, one might need twice the amount of effort to achieve the same effect. The more skilled the person was, the more she would take note of these details. Only amateurs would be confident about freezing everything. The hardest thing to cope when battling Old Zhou was his ghostly disruption technique. He could really piss his opponents off till they died, and the exhaustion on him was rather low to achieve the effect. This was exactly what Wang Jung wanted to learn. He wasn't able to achieve it at all when the primordial regression technique had not reached stage 3. However, he could gradually master it now. The crux behind it was in fact instantaneous release and concentrating the ability X into a small area quickly. When controlling the area of the ability X, if the area was big, it was indeed easier to hit. It might also look spectacular. However, it was easy to dodge the center of the attack, which would cause the highest damage. If it failed to connect, what was waiting for him would be her opponent's counterattacks. Old Joe was getting more and more surprised. This kid was crazy. It took him 6 years to reach this level of standard, and yet this kid had only used a month. This was truly embarrassing others. Old Joe claimed to be a genius himself. However, he also couldn't compare to this kid that he encountered. What was more terrifying, that this kid did not only possess Ice ability X but also the abilities of Fire and Wind. It wasn't that Old Joe had not met such people. In fact, there were more amazing people. There were lots of masters on the X ranking. However, it was rare for his age. The most terrifying thing was that he could use multiple abilities, and there would definitely still be room for improvements in the use of his abilities. This kid. Looking at the mech opposite of him with flames emitted on one side and ice on the other, Old Joe was feeling a little pain in the ass. Wouldn't this cause the powers of his abilities to reflect back on his body? What kind of body did he possess? Within the body of Wang Jung, although it might look like he was using 2 types of abilities at the same time, the truth was that it was clearly separated and was following a certain order while circulating. The best mitigating factor was the primordial regression technique. This was also one of the changes brought by entering stage 3. However, it was still difficult to combine the effects of ice and fire. It was just that he was a little more confident than before. As for the combination ability of complementary elements of wind and fire, it was much smoother. During the first few moments of achieving a breakthrough in cultivation technique, the body conditions of one would be the best. That highly heightened senses was actually very precious. Moreover, there was a pro like Old Joe around. Wang Jung almost didn't want to leave this place. After fighting, Wang Jung had to take a long time to recall what had happened. Fighting wasn't the main thing. What was important was to remember well about what he had understood during the process and turned it into his own. Looking at Wang Jung, who was deep in thoughts while sitting against the mech, Old Joe was feeling helpless. Whoever had such an opponent was truly sad. He had never seen anyone with this type of talent and ability, and yet was so hardworking. This kid was a natural mech warrior and was born for this. Old Joe seemed to recall a comrade in the past. Everyone had the same persistence at that time, and yet he was the only one left now. Touching the wrinkles on his face, Old Joe knew that he had really aged. However, knowledge had been passed down from generation to generation. Also, with teenagers like Wang Jung, humans would never go extinct. He was observing the situation of the surroundings. The opportunity had arrived. However, he could tell that Wang Jung was in his best condition. Moreover, he also had something that he hadn't complete explaining. The truth was that there was never a lack of opportunities in this place. The setup of the environment was also almost done. All he had to do was to wait for this kid. The abyss might hinder some people but could also aid the development of others. Over the last few days, Old Joe was not able to see how the atmosphere of the abyss had harmed Wang Jung in any way. On the contrary, it seemed rather nourishing. This kid was looking rosy, ate and slept well. He seemed to be a little more muscular. In the Elite Academy, the finals of the 5 battle groups were starting. Everyone's attention was drawn to it. For every victor, her identity was no longer important. This was because from this point onwards, they would be the 5 new masters of the Zan and Huang grades. At Elite Academy, where the elites had congregate, they were still existences at the tip of the pyramid. For the finals, the competition timing was set in the afternoon. The relevant grades of the 2 large academies had suspended grades. Although there were only people from Elite Academy X and the Milky Way Military College watching, these audiences represented the highest standards of the entire Milky Way Alliance. As for the mecha battles, it was also of the highest standards within the Zan and Huang grades. Professor Zhang Feng and Professor Claudia from the Milky Way Military College would act as the host and judge respectively. The finals would involve real mecha in battle. The first round would be between Olivius and Hu Kan from the third battle group. This was a battle between the Huang Grade 1 and the Zan Grade 1. However, basically no one had treated Olivius as someone from Huang Grade 1. On the stand, Olivius' brother, Martsu, had arrived. As compared to the cold Olivius, Martsu's expression was more amiable and was also more mature. These two brothers were the pride of Arbiter and the successors of the Heavenly Overlord technique. They were calm and composed and without flaws. Heavenly Overlord technique believed that attacking was king and was indestructible. As for his opponent, he was the most outstanding representative from the Black Tortoise region in the past 5 years. He was known for his no blind spot and impenetrable defense. As one of the 4 masters of the Zan and Huang grades, he represented the pride of Black Tortoise. In this era where attacking was king, Black Tortoise region had adhered to the principle of where defense came first. Even if Martsu was to face Hu Kan, his odds were at most 6-4. Moreover, if Hu Kan made up his mind to defend, this battle might last a few hours without ending. Therefore, once he was on the battlefield, it was difficult to tell which side would be more effective. Zhang Shan and the rest had also arrived at the stadium. Zhang Shan was responsible for recording the match. He wanted to show it to Wang Zheng when he returned. Moreover, he was convinced that Wang Zheng would definitely be back. He definitely would. Olivius had chosen the Overlord. At their level, the Overlord had several weaknesses. When facing Hu Kan, his choice couldn't be considered as not arrogant. Hu Kan could also feel that the kid opposite of him was belittling him. However, Hu Kan's had a stable personality and wouldn't mind how others looked at him. He would forever live in his own pace. Hu Kan had chosen the Draconic Tiger mech from Martial Deity Star. It was a classic mech that could attack and defend and also represented the Martial Deity Star. By choosing this model of mech, it would mean that Hu Kan had made preparations to attack and saw Olivius as a proper opponent. The two of them did not try to test each other and entered the heat of the battle quickly. Against any ordinary opponents, Olivius just need to exert a little effort. Not only was his physical techniques and ability X indestructible, the killing aura around him was even more unstoppable. However, he had met his match this time. Hu Kan's defensive physical technique was also one of the best. After all, he represented the highest standards of the Black Tortoise region currently. The battle between both of them was a replica of the attacking and defending battles seen in the textbooks. The cheers from the regions which both of them represented was soaring through the skies. Zhang Shan, Ison and the rest were dumbfounded by what they saw. This type of control, this type of attacker, he was simply not a human. On the big screen, one could approximately see that during the clashes, there were both physical attacks and ability X1 could also have the most realistic view on the wear and tear on both mecha. This type of practical battle mecha monitoring system was in fact of the highest grade in the Milky Way Alliance. Even the testing of Super Mecha used the same equipment. Olivius had been attacking since the start of the battle and didn't seem to know what defending was at all. Yet, Hu Kan hadn't made a counterattack. Although the Black Tortoise region focused on defense, it didn't mean that they didn't know how to attack. Defending was the prelude to attacking. Moreover, Olivius had been too arrogant. Many seniors would have liked to hang him up and whip him. It was just that they didn't have such strength. What was known about Olivius' ability X was that it amplified vibrations. As for Hu Kan, his ability X was of the Earth attribute of the major and minor cycles. It could defend against both physical and ability X attacks without difference. Hu Kan had undoubtedly reached the early stage of B-grade ability X. His distribution of energy was very logical. Although the Draconic Tiger mech was in a defensive stance, its usage of energy was low. Moreover, his defense was also suppressive in nature. Zhang Shan was looking at the match without blinking. He wanted to tell Wang Zheng after he returned that Olivius would be one of his main opponents. This match was likely one of the few times that Olivius would be forced to show his true strength. What made Zhang Shan felt pressurizing was the fact that Olivius' ability X had reached the highest grade of C rank. This was already the standards of the Zan grade. He might not be experienced in using it, but he was not lacking in strength. Zhang Shan could imagine if those silly Zan grade guys who were thinking of taunting Olivius had really done so, they would definitely be pummeled. Facing an opponent with stronger ability, defending while looking for chances of counterattacks was actually better. However, Olivius seemed to not know what was defending and was attacking fiercely without thinking. He was lunging the spear fiercely and was even using his large shield to try to suppress his opponent. Hu Kan was also getting furious from being suppressed. The attacks of this brat were just of this level and he didn't know anything about advancing and retreating. Hu Kan had totally seen through his moves. He was indeed a younger version of Martsu. However, he wasn't even afraid of Martsu, let alone Olivius. Moreover, Hu Kan had been competing with Martsu for many years and knew about the moves of the Heavenly Overlord technique well. After a violent clash, Olivius's Overlord was knocked back. The Draconic Tiger Mech was going to start its counterattack. The beam saber was slashed down at almost twice the speed before Olivius could change his move. Buma the shield had blocked it, but the Overlord couldn't withstand the force and started to stagger backwards. At this moment, one could notice that Hu Kan's Draconic Tiger Mech seemed to have merged with the earth. He looked just like a giant standing there and could even reach the skies. After a flat piercing attack, Hu Kan followed up with a sudden lunge forward. Using the shoulder as a shield to break through, there was another collision. This collision was slanted downwards and forceful. The Overlord rumbled and its legs had obviously buckled. This was all about the details. He definitely lived up to his great reputation. Once Hu Kan struck, Olivius was beaten back to his original state. This had caused those seniors in Black Tortoise who were feeling bottled up to roar in frenzy. Every person who specialized in defending had a frenzied heart for attack deep in their heart. It was just that they preferred to strike after their opponents were blocked. There wasn't any warrior who would not have a desire to attack. The weakness of the Overlord had shown now, it wasn't agile enough. Under normal circumstances, one wouldn't be able to tell. However, if faced with a master, without completely outclassing them, the opponent would then easily play one. Luckily Hu Kan was a prudent person and didn't have such a fetish. However, the results were worse. This was because a prudent person would not give his opponent any chance. Buma the Overlord could only defend against all the attacks he was receiving. Even if that was the case, it didn't possess defensive capabilities. The mech slid over 10 meters before stopping. However, Hu Kan did not take the opportunity to continue attacking, demonstrating well how a senior should act. A huge round of applause sounded from below the ring. All of them thought that Hu Kan was being a great senior. It was just that Zhang Feng and Claudia did not make any compliments on this detail. The participants sitting at the front row was also silent. If Hu Kan pressed on tightly earlier, he would really be in trouble. Although he had been on the receiving end all along, Olivia's spear had been very stable. If his opponent was to show any weakness, this spear would take his life. "Boss, Olivius is really arrogant," said Luo Fei as he was chewing something. It was always his favorite hobby to eat things while watching the competition. The surrounding clearly wasn't happy about this little sidekick of Lear. It was especially so as this brat always spouted such nonsensical things. Lear only nodded his head. Olivius was truly arrogant. This was because he was judging his opponent's bottom line. This was usually the case when a strong person was facing a weak person. The truth was that he wasn't at an advantage and Hu Kan had also discovered this point. As freshmen, Olivius was not showing respect to all the elites in this place by doing such things. Hu Kan took a deep breath. If he couldn't give this kid a complete defeat, he could no longer hang around in this place. Even though he had a composed personality, he was still a little pissed off. The Draconic Tiger started to exhibit some signs of ability x the power of the earth. The people from Black Tortoise region specialized in the power of earth. Takumi was the same too. However, the rampaging power of the earth was actually the most terrifying. Draconic Tiger took a step out suddenly and the momentum immediately blasted towards Overlord. Hu Kan was going to use his ability X to crush his opponents in a face-to-face battle. Olivius didn't have a chance of winning at all. However, facing the challenge of the Draconic Tiger, Olivius's Overlord had chosen to face it head-on. Buma a stalemate. Their aura exploded outwards and the two mecha clashed together. Facing a Draconic Tiger with the power of the earth, any attacker would feel a sense of helplessness. At least that was what the majority in the stadium would think. Rumblia in a head-on collision, there wasn't any use of anything fanciful with the standards and styles of these two people. These were also not their rhythm of things. In the end, it had become a simple collision. Olivius was still after a head-on collision. Olivius had retreated 3 steps while Hukan didn't budge at all. Rumblia Hukan wanted to strike while the rod was still hot. He continued to control the tempo with his beam saber. The Overlord took another step backwards with the Draconic Tiger suppressing him. Olivius seemed to be trying to defend with all his might. However, surprisingly, he gritted his teeth, stabilized himself and blocked it forcefully. The floor exploded. Hukan, who had the power of the earth, had the absolute advantage. However, a change had occurred. The Draconic Tiger was knocked back 3 steps by the vibrations. The Overlord leapt up. During the small leapt, Olivius pressed down hard with his large shield. Boom! A Draconic Tiger blocked it forcefully. However, the lethal spear had arrived. Hukan tried his best to change his moves. Rumblia, after blocking the spear, he was sent flying by a kick from the Overlord. At the same time, the spear in the hands of Olivius was thrown out. At this moment, Hukan only had one choice: the energy shield. Boom! As the energy shield was blocking the spear, the Overlord had already leapt to the sky. When the Overlord mech was rushing towards Hukan, the Draconic Tiger had already landed and had time to make his preparation. It was hard to attack but easier to defend. The Draconic Tiger suddenly held the shield in both arms. Hukan released his ability X totally. The entire mech together with the energy shield seemed to have become one with the earth. Come on! Hukan's eyes lit up. The sky-crashing impact of the Overlord was a classic case of a double-edged sword. If the power was blocked, it would be reflected to the Overlord itself. The pilot might even die from the shockwaves. Although it was just a competition, the risks weren't low. If it wasn't you who died, it would be me. Rumbling a Hukan's mech had already made ample preparations. By combining ability X with the energy shield, it would represent the highest realm of defending. Physical attacks would be useless and so was ability X. As long as he could withstand it, the large recoil would be enough to cause Olivius to be not able to do anything in the next 7 to 8 seconds. Achilles and the rest were frowning slightly. As one of the most famous mech of Arbiter, this move was familiar to everyone. Clearly the problem was with the pathing. Based on Olivius' current angle, he would probably land in front of Hukan and it would not be a direct hit. This type of error instantly, almost all the top-notched masters had made this prediction. Their eyes were similar to machines. It might look like it was difficult to execute but it was actually the most basic thing. From the release of the spear to leaping into the sky, it was to not give Hukan the opportunity to move. If Hukan had moved, he wouldn't be able to defend with all his might. Moreover, with Hukan's confidence, he would definitely choose to defend and not escape. However, Olivius himself was slightly off of this teenager. Booma! In the blink of an eye, the Overlord was descending from the sky. A loud sound erupted as it exploded. It was indeed slightly off. However, God, what had happened? Even Zhongfeng and Claudia revealed an impossible look. The energy shield of the Draconic Tiger had been completely destroyed and there was a huge crack on the mech. It was already on the brink of collapsing. As for Hukan, he had already lost consciousness. The whole crowd went silent. It was the medical personnel that were rushing in. This was because the life support signal had lighted up. If Hukan ended up like this when Olivius had missed slightly, what if he had hit him on the bullseye? Hukan would probably be crushed. The Overlord stood up gradually. After this impact, Olivius would really need some time for recovery. No matter if it was his ability or his muscles, he would need some time to get used to it. However, he wouldn't need to worry about the counterattacks of his opponent at all. Although he had defeated the top-notched masters of the Zon grade, Olivius still didn't had much expression. He was still as cold as before. His brother, Martsu, was also expressionless and didn't see it as something to be happy about. Everything was just like it should be. However, the expressions of these two brothers made the rest felt unbelievable. They didn't need any compliments and cheers from others. Victory was just as easy as breathing. Pressure was spreading throughout the whole crowd. The people from Arbiter were not giving the rest a way out. With Hukan's defensive ability and techniques, he still couldn't withstand a strike. He also had to depend on Olivius to give him a chance to remain alive. Olivius' ability X had the effect of dissipating his opponent's ability X through shockwaves. In other words, Hu Kan's defenses had already dissipated at the contact of the shockwave. If it wasn't for the protection of the energy shield, he would have died on the spot. This was Olivius, who had the innate ability to counter various abilities X. It wasn't as simple as just emitting shockwaves. This was the Overlord. With his great strength, he could overpower 10 skilled opponents. In such an easy way, Olivius had obtained the #1 title in the 3rd battle group and became the first person in Elite Academy X's history to achieve victory in such a big competition as a Huang grade student. After the getting over their shocks, the cheers finally sounded. Clearly, the brothers from Arbiter would continue to rule Elite Academy. For the king of attack and the one who could never be defended against, one would had to execute stronger attacks to suppress him if she wished to defeat this type of person. Everyone's gazes landed on the king of Vermilion Bird, Hakadalin. Among the 4 masters, Hakadalin had the most potent attacks. Even Martsu had to admit that. If one was to only consider a single lethal strike, no one could compete with Hakadalin. Between ability X's, one would either suppress the other or be suppressed. There was no other way out. The Huang grade students could finally lift their heads high. Olivius had clearly taken over the mantle of his seniors and became the idol of the new generation. Zhang Feng, what is the ranking of Olivius now? Based on the current circumstances, he should be able to break out from the observation group and have an official ranking. The X ranking board had 10,000 slots. In fact, those that required attention were only the first 1,000. The following 9,000 rankings were mainly reserves for observation. Among them, there weren't a lack of some wanted criminals or pirates. Olivius' situation was slightly special. His ranking would likely increase substantially this time. Everyone had originally thought that Olivius' ability was simply the superposition of shockwaves to increase one's destructive power. However, it would now seem that his shockwave could affect his opponent's control of their ability X's frequency, causing their abilities to collapse. This could make his opponents felt a little despair. This type of student should be nurtured to see the bigger picture. If he was to just be a mech warrior, it would really be a waste, said Claudia with a smile. Cough cough. Professor Claudia, you couldn't be poaching my students this way. I was at least still a professor in the Elite Academy. Zhang Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. At the same time, he could see the admiration Claudia had for Olivius. Claudia was also senior to Zhang Feng. Her visit this time also had the meaning of examining the Elite Academy. This Hu Kan actually still had something up his sleeves. It was a pity that he didn't even have the chance to react. Claudia's remarks were also more sincere. It was just that when she saw such a destructive ability X of Olivius, it was truly shocking. To defend against him, Hu Kan would likely have needed to progress to the Earth grade to have a chance. In addition, he had to have the mental preparation to be able to do so. Zhang Feng smiled. Olivius and Wang Zheng were 2 students he had the highest hopes on. They were both talented and hard-working. Although Wang Zheng was a little disappointing, at least Olivius was still around. Moreover, he had discovered Lear and Achilles. The rise of the solar system was truly surprising. However, Inner Roland was the nurturing ground for the elites of humans. He didn't care about where they were from. On the contrary, it was better that they had come from a small federation. This was better for the balance of the Milky Way alliance. If it was dominated by large empires like Arbiter and Aslan, the balance would be broken instead. The competition on the first day had ended. Everyone was discussing about Olivius and his unfathomable ability X to be able to almost kill Hu Kan when he had left some space between them in the last strike. This would mean that Olivius was actually holding back all along. Moreover, he had already deduced that his opponent would not be able to withstand it at all. This type of mentality was the crux of their problem. If given more time, this type of person would definitely be in existence that could reach the Earth grade. For the moment, Olivius had snatched away the glory of his seniors. With regard to this, Olivius himself didn't seem to be interested. On the contrary, he seemed a little unhappy. Olivius was feeling a little anger in his heart. He was angry that Wang Zheng would actually die. Could it be that the abyss was really so strong? That place was also the direct reason for Olivius to come to the Elite Academy. He was looking for his limits. It didn't matter if it was the human or Zerg that was stronger than him. He wanted to discover his own weakness. In this way, he could then find the meaning of staying alive. The reporter of the elite academy wanted to interview Olivius, but Olivius just stared back with a cold gaze. Although the reporter did not get the interview he wanted, he was conquered by the cold gaze like many others. Ollie was both happy and sad. He was happy that his fiancé copyright had won. However, she was sad that no one knew if Wang Jung was dead or alive. Zhang Shan had said that Wang Jung would definitely return. However, the school had said that the chances of surviving were not high. Most people would not care about the life or death of a student without background or fame. In the eyes of others, he was just another missing person. The school was also great in making others want more. After the first match had ended, the second match was starting only 2 days later. The second match was from the first battle group. Achilles would be challenging the king of White Tiger, Martsu. Facing the legendary #1 master Martsu, almost everyone thought that it would be an easy match. However, Achilles had created lots of problem for Martsu. The Heavenly King arts were not inferior to any other cultivation technique. It was complete and stable. His opponent's Heavenly Overlord technique was not able to gain any advantage. However, the final difference was still based on ability X. Obviously, Martsu's real battle experience was fuller than Achilles, and he was eventually able to emerge victorious. No one could tell how much effort Martsu had exerted. However, this representative figure of arbiter gave a high assessment of Achilles after the match. Achilles' spear techniques were commendable and Martsu wasn't able to find any flaws with it. However, everyone was still slightly relieved. If Martsu had lost, Zon grade could be shut down. Luckily, the advantage of the Zon grade was their ability X rank, which showed through. During the battle, Achilles suffered some minor injuries. This meant that Martsu was still in control of the tempo. If it was an even battle, the injuries would likely be worse unless there was one party who wished to surrender. From a different perspective, although Olivius had given some chance, it would still be hard for him to defeat Hu Kan if he didn't use his ultimate move. This was the realm of being able to control the details. However, after this match, Achilles also became famous. After all, he was able to have a rather even match with the #1 master of the Zon grade. This would be indicative of his strength. Vermilion Bird region now had another master. No matter who was facing Martsu, one would likely be inferior. The battles were heating up in this place. The entire elite academy seemed to be going through a festival. However, Lin Weiyan did not appear after all. She didn't watch the competition and didn't want to. If it wasn't for Wang Jung, she would have zero interests in these things. However, there was nothing she could do other than pray that Wang Jung would be fine. She wasn't as strong as her sister and could not put on a front. When she didn't want to smile, she wouldn't. If she didn't want to go out, she wouldn't. It doesn't matter if others would say if she was willful or too young. Why did she have to think so much about it? At this moment, Wang Jung. He was indeed safe and sound and was having an enriching time. However, this type of enriching life was coming to an end. Old Joe did not have much to teach Wang Jung anymore. How far Wang Jung could go would depend on his talents and insistence. It was time to leave this place. The truth was that over the past year, Old Joe could feel that his body was aging more and more quickly. He had to hurry up. Both of them had made ample preparations. The truth was that they had been simulating this escape plan. However, it didn't mean that they would be successful. Moreover, whether they could escape this place alive had to be fully dependent on luck. After waiting for 3 days, there wasn't any great opportunity. However, if there wasn't any great opportunity, they shouldn't be trying to rush through it too. Both of them had to endure further. Adjustments were made to the mech to bring out its best condition. Old Joe had also spent a lot and took out the most delicious canned food he could find. Even if he died, he also wanted to be a well-fed ghost. Those damn Zerg's meat was too awful. Even eating the bark of the trees would be better. 2 mobile warrior were hiding among the small opening of the rubbish piles. In the end, that round transport Zerg appeared again. There were over 100 of them this time, and this could be considered a rather large-scale dumping. The reason why they had chosen the scenario where there were more rubbish Zerg was to increase their success rate. This was because the rubbish Zerg didn't possess any attacking capabilities. When there were more of them, the opportunities would also be more. It wouldn't bother them and could serve as covers for them at the same time. Obviously, when there were more rubbish Zerg, there would be more hidden Zerg too. However, Old Joe had already made preparations for them. Old Joe, what do you think? Wang Jung asked. He was also a little nervous. After waiting for such a long time, whether they live or die would depend on this. It will be today. Wang Jung, if there's a chance to run, just run. If I have the chance, I wouldn't care about you. The same goes for you. At least one of us must get out alive. Old Joe said seriously. Wang Jung smiled. I'm still young. If I can get out, I will live your part of your life for you. D*MN kid. I will recover my youth when I get out and will definitely court 10 little girls. Old Joe also laughed. However, there wasn't any joking in their eyes. Not only did they have to get out alive, they had to bring out this valuable information out. There was no one who had ever gotten out alive after coming to this place. They might be the only ones. Both of them had the reasons to continue living. Wang Jung was still young and had his friends, ambition and the glorious future. Old Joe had a family, kids, and he wanted to see his daughter and not just a photo. To his daughter, a dead hero could never replace a living father. Both of them were trying hard to calm their breathing. When the tentacles of the rubbish zerg started to move about, it would be the beginning of the dumping of rubbish. The rubbish from the other side would be sucked in and thrown into this place. At that moment, there would definitely be a spatial passage. The rubbish had started pouring down. It was indeed from the human world. This was a 1 in a million chance. Wang Jung's palm was already sweating. Second after second passed by. It's going to start soon. 10-second countdown. In the dormitory of the elite academy, Lin Weiyan had chased Angela out. Only music could calm her down. Why would she miss him so much? Outside the window, a drizzle had started. Although it was man-made, it still brought with it a sad atmosphere. There hadn't been any news for so long. Was Wang Jung dead or alive now? I really miss you. At this point, rain started pouring down outside the window. Although her eyes were dry, she had the feeling to cry. I don't know where you are now. Lin Weiyan's voice was a little choked. Angela, who was behind the door, heard her voice but couldn't help. Highness Weiyan was different from Highness Aina. She was too melancholic and emotional. She wasn't of the material to become a queen. If you didn't exist and we didn't have any past, I wouldn't be sad. However, if there was a chance, I would still want to love you. However, everything was too late now. Angela sighed. This was truly a tragic relationship. Rumbling. At the place where Wang Jung and Old Joe were at, an earth-shattering explosion erupted from the rubbish dump in a faraway place. There were even 2 mechas soaring up the sky. These 2 mecha were completely on autopilot and didn't have any battle power. They were only for attracting the attention of the Zerg. Almost instantly, there were a piercing sound from both the ground and air. The Zerg had appeared. Boom. A loud siren could be heard from afar but was moving closer. They had arrived almost in an instant. A huge hole exploded in the ground. Wang Jung and Old Joe had seen them before. It was that super digging monster, and there were even 3 of them at once. Thesa D*MN. However, Wang Jung and Old Joe could no longer retreat. Whether they would live or die would depend on this bet. Old Joe, I'll treat you to drinks when we get out, the best alcohol. Kid, I'll introduce you to my daughter when we get out. She's definitely prettier than any princess. Haha, let's meet in the human world then. 2 mechas soared through the sky and were moving towards the rubbish Zerg that were pouring rubbish with their fastest speed. The explosion distance was very far away and was only for attracting the attention of the Zerg guards. The 2 mecha were also found by Old Joe after spending a lot of effort. This had fully taken into consideration the intelligence of the Zerg in this place. One could say that they had done everything they could. However, when they rushed to mid-air, the rubbish Zerg didn't act differently. They were actually just transport channels. However, the space around them started to shimmer. An invisible unit. Tentacle monsters. In the air, there were actually those tentacled monsters that could emit energy beams floating around. These D*MNED Zerg were actually so cunning. The tentacle monsters had actually started moving towards the 2 of them. On their other side, the energy cannons were starting up. Wang Jung's expression was extremely stern. It was too late for them to run now. They no longer had any retreat paths. All they could do was to kill their way through, and to kill their way through with all their might. Windflame wheels were readied. It would either be the Zerg dying or they would perish. Wang Jung released his ability X fully. In the abyss, it was full of energy. This could allow him to demonstrate stronger power than when he was outside. Just then, a blinding light exploded. It was old Joe. Wang Jung was stunned. What was this old man trying to do? Did he not want to live? Old Joe's beggar was releasing blinding light. In the abyss, this light was just like the lighthouse in the darkness. All of the Zerg attentions were attracted to him. Old Joe's second ability Z Light. He had never told Wang Jung about it. This was because from the very beginning, he knew that the Zerg would not be entirely distracted by the decoys. This was the abyss and the main base camp of the Zerg. It wasn't the same as those dumb Zerg outside. If it wasn't that case, he would have implemented his escape plan earlier. From the beginning, there was only one person who would survive. Wang Jung, leave quickly, old Joe's thunderous roar transmitted to Wang Jung's ears. Wang Jung gritted his teeth. Instantly, the wind flame wheels were released. With the lights shining on them, the Zerg had also lost their focus. The strong and domineering power ripped across the sky like a Death Reaper's scythe. Wang Jung's mech had broken through. He couldn't turn back, he couldn't turn back, he couldn't turn back. Lasers were fired and non-stop explosions were everywhere. Old Joe was readying the second wave of attacks. He wanted to attract all the attention to himself and create the only chance for Wang Jung. He believed in Wang Jung. Before he became a father, he was first a soldier. There were countless times he had wanted to escape alive and to hold his daughter in his own arms. However, he wouldn't be able to make it back. As the captain of the ship, all his brothers and soldiers had all died. They had died in front of him. Although he was the only one alive, he was no different from being dead. However, these things, the precious data had to be brought out. These were exchanged from using the lives of his comrades. The beggar was dodging constantly. He was just firing his laser randomly. The only thing he had to do was to buy some time. Countless Zerg had already surrounded him. The light cannons of the tentacled monsters were ready. Those three terrifying digging monsters had grown wings like a dragonfly and flew towards the sky. The Zerg were clearly furious that an human-like enemy had appeared behind them. In fact, there might even be fear. Old Joe lighted his last cigar. Captain, if we can complete this mission, would we be the #1 fleet? Captain, if we succeed this time, Michelle would definitely be smitten by me. I would make her my wife. Captain, we believe in you. A smile appeared on old Joe's face. Brothers, I'm sorry for making you all wait so long for me. Rumbling. Sparks were everywhere. The beggar had self-exploded. What was a soldier? The truth was he didn't know too. It was just that. Brothers should live and die together. The tentacled monsters surrounded Wang Jung. After the wind flame wheels had killed one of them, Wang Jung was still stopped by another tentacle monster. He embedded himself against the body of the tentacled monster but couldn't get through. Wang Jung unsheathed his beam saber. He only had one thing in mind, and that was to live on. Dying would definitely be the easiest way out. However, he couldn't die. He definitely couldn't. Go and die. With a large roar, the energy of the beam saber shot through the sky. The surrounding red gases swept towards him as though there was a typhoon. A red ray of light arced through the sky. Boom! Several tentacled monsters blocking Wang Jung were cut open together with the rubbish Zerg. However, the alarm on the mech had sounded. He only had a minute left. He only had a minute of flight remaining. The rubbish Zerg seemed to have received some sort of signal and was stopping the pouring of rubbish and was closing the exit. At the same time, they were turning invisible. Wang Jung's analysis ability was running at maximum capacity. A red storm was forming around Wang Jung and the mech was rushing towards the nearest rubbish Zerg with all its might. In the pilot cabin, Wang Jung's eyes had turned red. Blood was oozing out from his mouth, ears and nose. Kid, you definitely have to survive and live on for me. If possible, help me look after my family. Haha. Let me tell you this. I was a really handsome guy in the past. My daughter would definitely be a big beauty. She's definitely better than the princess. The flying device on the golden wheel stalled at this point. Wang Jung's eyes had turned completely red. He was just a stone's throw away. Boom! A red hurricane instantly erupted. The golden wheel dived head first into the opening of the approaching invisible rubbish Zerg. Lin Weiyan looked out of the window. She used to like the rain and felt that the rain was always so gentle. However, why was she so sad now? Didn't like? Was it important? I don't know where you are now. Were you thinking of me just like I am thinking of you? Lin Weiyan's singing voice sounded. Aina was standing quietly against the door. Her tears were dripping down one drop after another. After some time, she wiped off her tears and had recovered her composure. When she left, she was already the first princess of Aslan and the future queen. In the monitoring room, the employees were already speechless. The two geezers, Butcher and Gale, seemed to be become mentally ill. They were crazy. The two of them were taking turns to monitor and bombard the employees. This type of disappearance was actually equivalent to death. To make it back alive was simply a dream. It was just that the status of the two of them was too high. Everyone could only play along, but no one was really staring at the monitor screen every day. Weren't them being unreasonable? Everyone wasn't so free to do this troublesome task. There was even a competition today. Everyone was watching the match from the 5th battle group between Lear and Deborah. This Lear was really awesome. Deborah wasn't able to do anything under his attacks. It was known that the current year Huang grade students were awesome and Lear was easily the better ones. If it wasn't any one of the 4 masters, no one would be able to handle him at this level. His physical techniques were close to perfection to be able to completely counter Deborah's style of fighting. Deborah had been beaten as though she was a primary school student fighting against an adult. With her gold attribute ability, her defense should have been solida. It was really pathetica. Deborah was one of the few masters from the White Tiger region and had only been defeated by the Heavenly Overlord technique of Martsu. However, this Lear in front of them seemed even more powerful. Lear's Ares art wasn't overbearing like the Heavenly Overlord technique. However, it was able to make people admit their defeat without battling. Lear had completely dismantled Deborah's attacks. When it came to ancient martial arts, Earth was the grand ancestor. Lear had been exposed to it from the very moment he was born. In the end, the first resignation occurred. Deborah could no longer fight on. All her attacks were broken by a single move of his opponent. The longer she dragged on, the more embarrassing it would get. Her ability X was to enhance the attacking prowess of physical techniques. Moreover, she could defend against ability X attacks. However, all her moves seemed to be childish in front of his opponent. If it wasn't because of his opponent giving him a chance, he would definitely lose more badly. There was actually nothing to be ashamed of. Even one of the 4 masters, Hu Kan, was thrashed. Admitting defeat would at least show that she knew her own limits. Lear was being rather courteous. When Deborah admitted defeat, Lear did not display any arrogance. On the contrary, he sincerely said, "Thank you, Senior, for the guidance. I have learned a lot from it." This gave others the feeling that Deborah was trying to teach her junior and allowed her to save some face. Instantly, waves of clapping erupted. In the past, Elite Academy was always about seniors, educating, juniors or juniors seeking the seniors. They were only after fame. Lear's appearance had brought along a different atmosphere. No matter if one was his opponent or comrade, all of them were happy and were clapping for him. Lear was feeling really great. This was because he found out that the people outside were actually silly and naive. They were much easier to fool than those in the solar system. In the monitoring room, Gale was too lazy to look at the screen and couldn't understand it. Suddenly, a red dot flashed across the screen. Gale was stunned for a moment. Thesa looked like Ia. A large scream gave every employee a scare. "Quick, take a look, guys. Quick, what's the meaning of this red dot?" Everyone wasn't happy about it. This old man was too funny. Could it be that this Wang Zheng was his illegitimate child? Did he need to do this? It seems to be Wang Zheng's signal. It really is. It really is. Everyone was getting excited. How could this be possible to return alive after being swallowed by the devouring Zerg? This was truly a miracle. This was actually the first time it happened. There were some who appeared after being swallowed. However, they were found soon after being swallowed. There was never once did anyone reappear after being swallowed for such a long period of time. Zhang Feng also had admiration for Lear. There was something interesting to watch out for this batch. Suddenly, his skylink rang. "What did you say?" Zhang Feng's expression was getting serious. "What's the matter?" It was the first time that Claudia had seen Zhang Feng lost his composure. That missing student has been found. Claudia obviously knew about the incident. The student that had been swallowed by the devouring Zerg had appeared after disappearing for 2 months. This was simply unbelievable. It was originally the time for the two professors to give their comments. In the end, the two professors had left in a hurry. This had left Lear, who had already prepared his lines, to be stunned in his place. Everyone was whispering among themselves. Did something happen? Following soon, a lot of the professors in the stadium seemed to have heard some news and all left in a hurry. The students seemed to have heard, "He has returned, impossible, unbelievable, Zhang Shan's heart was thumping hard. Instinctively, he thought of something. However, it seemed too good to be true and was afraid that it was just a dream. It seemed that someone had returned. He must be someone for all the professors to leave this place. Zhang Shan couldn't hold back the joy in his heart and was pumping his fist in the air. It must be that Wang Zheng has returned. Ison and the rest looked at one another. They shook their head helplessly. How could it be possible for him to return alive after being swallowed in the abyss? However, the news had spread quickly. This was because there was nothing to hide and it couldn't be hidden. Wang Zheng, who had been missing in the abyss, had returned. They had found the signal of his mech. However, the situation was still being clarified at the moment. The mech was back, but the person might not be. However, everyone couldn't hold back and started cheering. Perhaps they didn't care if Wang Zheng had returned but felt that the fact that he was able to return in itself was a miracle. Lear's victory was instantly forgotten. His victory in the face of the miraculous survival of Wang Zheng from the abyss seemed like a very small thing. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. It was Wang Zheng again. It was as though his soul was lingering around all along. Olivius had already disappeared in the first instance and followed the professors. Although he was a student, his authority was very high. Wang Zheng had returned. This brat really wouldn't die so easily. That's right. Even if he were to die, it would be in his hands. Wang Zheng only caused a small negative reaction. However, his appearance had truly shaken the two major academies. When Lin Weiyun received the news, she totally ignored the screams of Angela and rushed out directly. Angela was completely helpless and could only follow behind. This was the prelude to trouble. The channel in the rubbish Zerg wasn't intended for humans to pass through. The inside was just as messy as a meat grinder. Wang Zheng only had one thing in mind, and that was to dash out no matter what it would take. Dash out? Old Joe only thought through a portion of the plan. The internals of the rubbish Zerg was really a space channel. However, the problem was with the direction which the mech would have to go through. If the direction was wrong, he might end up in the original place. Wang Zheng's primordial regression technique had played an important role. Based on the difference of energy from two sides to determine the direction, the golden wheel moved ahead with all its strength. He didn't stop moving ahead despite endless collisions. The mech was damaged beyond imagination. However, Wang Zheng had seen the light at the end of the tunnel. At this moment, Wang Zheng made a crucial decision. He lashed out with his beam saber. He didn't exit from the exit but cut open the channel. A gust of disrupted space-time flow swept across and the golden wheel was sucked out with a pile of other things. In some place of the abyss, the space had collapsed. A black hole appeared and a damaged mech together with a pile of junk were spat out. The mech landed in the area. The person inside had completely lost consciousness. Wang Zheng realized a serious problem. The other side of the battlefield was definitely a heavily controlled area by the Zerg. If that wasn't the case, how could they transport rubbish out of there easily? Even if he had arrived at the other side, it was still an operation with minimal chance of success. What was space? It was just like a door. This was entirely Wang Zheng's thoughts in the moment. He instinctively attacked. His mech had appeared in an area a few thousand meters from the front line of the Zerg's controlled area. In the Zerg's controlled area, a transporting rubbish Zerg suddenly appeared. Explosions followed closely behind and debris was flying everywhere. Around the rubbish Zerga, there was an army of Zergs. If Wang Zheng had come out through the usual route, it wouldn't just be an operation with low chances of success. It would a hopeless operation. Elite Academy immediately transmitted the news to the frontline army. Actually, the army at the front line had already discovered the signal. A small section had already advanced to the place where the signal originated. However, their speed wasn't very fast. "Why is the operation so slow?" shouted Gale. "Since when was our transport fleet as slow as a dog's crawling?" Everyone blushed. The employees could never have dreamt that Wang Jung would be able to return. "Professor Gale, please don't be agitated. The military would definitely need to survey the situation first. This might be a trap of the Zerg," explained Zhang Feng. This was because the army at the front line would not have believed that anyone would survive. They were also very cautious after fighting with the Zerg for so long and lost many lives in the process. If there was someone, they definitely would want to save him, her. However, they had to pay attention to their own safety too. However, when the screen confirmed that it was Wang Jung's golden wheel, everyone couldn't hold back but cheer. A lot of students wanted to know about the situation, however, it wasn't possible for everyone to enter. In the end, Lin Weiyan, Zhang Shan, Ha Caitlin and some people were allowed in. The surveillance plane had verified the situation. The rescue section had already accelerated their progress. The damaged beyond imagination golden wheel was just in front of their eyes. Lin Weiyan was so worried that her palms were starting to sweat. Ha Caitlin, who was beside the princess, was a little worried about the princess's situation. They were only here to understand the situation but had no feelings if Wang Jung was dead or alive. "Highness, are you alright?" Ha Caitlin asked concerningly. Technically, Lin Weiyan and him were relatives. This was because his surname was also Lin. It was just that Lin Weiyan had the bloodline of the royal family. Lin Weiyan could no longer hear him. She wished she was part of the rescue team now. What were these people doing just looking? Just hurry up and save him. After finally verifying that there wouldn't be a problem, the rescue team opened up their pilot cabin. The reinforcements supporting Mecha were nearby. After some time, they signaled with an "OK" hand sign. Zhang Feng slapped the control desk suddenly and said, "Great." Wang Jung had finally returned alive. They had originally thought that Wang Jung had lost consciousness. However, they didn't expect that when they approached closer, Wang Jung had slowly recovered his consciousness. He pointed to the baggage and said, "Importante." And he fainted again. The section had received the notification that the army of the Zerg was approaching this place and the rescue team was asked to retreat immediately. It was only till the rescue section had brought Wang Jung out of the battlefield that everyone was able to heave a huge sigh of relief. "This kid is truly lucky." Zhang Feng couldn't help but shook his head and smiled. "Great, all of you can go back now." Lin Weiyan and Zhang Shan were the most elated. The other one who was relatively happier was Olivius. As for others, one couldn't see it from their expression as most of them didn't have any feeling of gratitude or resentment to Wang Jung and wouldn't mind either way. It was just that looking at the way Lin Weiyan's elated looks was, Ha Caitlin couldn't help but frown. Could there be a mistake in the rumors? It wasn't Aina but Her Highness Weiyan. No matter who it was, Wang Jung did not have the qualifications to approach the royal family. After Zhang Shan had left, he was jumping around like a little kid. Ison and the rest was waiting outside the door for news. Wang Jung had returned. "Haha. I knew that this brat was lucky. How could he have died?" Zhang Shan roared as he waved his arms. Lear was in the crowd too. From his face, one couldn't see an expression. Luo Fei also didn't expect Wang Jung to really return alive. He knew that the abyss was a D*MNED place and wasn't for ordinary people. If possible, he wouldn't want to go there in his next life. Yet, Wang Jung was able to escape out of there alive. "His soul really lingers around," said Lear bluntly. The fatty's fat face tensed up and revealed a smile. "Boss, wouldn't this make things a little more interesting? Boss's Aries art has improved tremendously. Without a green leaf like Wang Jung, the colors of the red flower would seem blander." Lear took a look at Luo Fei. "Your bootlicking skills have really improved. Forget it, let it be." Lear didn't feel much about it. Since achieving a breakthrough with his Aries art and coupled with his foundation in Ability X, Wang Jung was no longer his match. It didn't matter if he was dead or alive. Wang Jung had become a burden. Lai Xin could no longer follow the pace and Achilles had lost in battle. He had come out at the top. The news had spread to the military of the solar system. Together with his family's political personnel hyping it up, Lear had paved his influence in the military in the future well. This was something that others couldn't compete with him. However, for Wang Zheng to return to the academy, he would have to first receive treatment and physical examination at the base camp in the abyss. The competition was temporarily suspended. The mentors also had a lot of things to understand from Wang Zheng, as Wang Zheng was probably the first one to return alive after entering the base camp of the Zerg. Even if it was just something he saw, it would be extremely valuable. Therefore Zhang Feng and the rest had rushed over. Reddington and Mog Wangyuan were also speechless. Wang Zheng was surprisingly not dead yet. Reddington, this Wang Zheng seemed to be in the same battle group as you. Technically speaking, he has also completed the trial. Moreover, he has completed more than what was required, laughed Mog Wangyuan. He is just lucky to still be alive. Reddington smirked. If Wang Zheng wanted to join the tournament, he wouldn't mind making him a permanent resident in the hospital. It was a pity. I would probably not be able to be there to watch it live and can only see your bravery in the direct broadcast, laughed Mog Wangyuan. Oh, why? Our representative group will be going back now. This competition has already been dragged on for a long time. Based on the current situation, it would probably be a few more days of delay before the matches would start, and this would cause serious disruption to our following plans. However, it isn't an issue. Watching it through the broadcast is basically the same. I hope to see your victory at that time and hope you would be able to win the heart of your girl. Haha, Brother Ma, you are being too courteous. There is still a long time in the future and we will definitely have the opportunity to work together. Over the past period of time, Reddington had been getting along well with Mog Wangyuan. Both of them were similar. Moreover, Mog Wangyuan had already decided to stay in the Milky Way Military College. Without direct conflicts or competition, there were huge room for collaboration. Reddington was focusing all his attention on dealing with Hawkatelin. Hawkatelin had the fire ability while he had the ice ability. His ability was the early stage of B rank and so was Hawkatelin. It was just that Hawkatelin's mastery was slightly better and had more experience. However, ice could counter fire. As long as he could perform steadily, he had the chances of victory. After a day, Wang Zheng had been transferred to Inner Roland. There were multiple abrasions around his body and also some muscle strains. However, when compared to the things he had experienced, these wouldn't be considered injuries. When Wang Zheng woke up, Zhang Feng, Butcher, Gale and Claudia were all around him. Beside them was a doctor. Student Wang Zheng, can you recognize me? The doctor extended one finger. Wang Zheng nodded and sat up suddenly. Was the thing brought back? That was something that was more important than his life. Zhang Feng immediately helped Wang Zheng up. Calm down. That diary has been brought back. Wang Zheng, you have rendered meritorious service. Student Wang Zheng, all the things you have done would be recorded down in the history of humans. That diary was priceless information for us. Claudia said seriously. They had only briefly read through the things inside and it was truly priceless treasure. It had recorded many things about the Zerg and their behavior. Gale and Butcher were also full of praise for Wang Zheng. This kid truly deserved to be a member of the Universe Genesis Coffee Club. It was then Wang Zheng had relaxed his body. His eyes turned dull and said, "This was all the work of Senior Li Yizhou. What I did was not worth mentioning." When he thought of the composed look old Zhou had when he was on his way to death, Wang Zheng really felt that what he did was nothing significant. Wang Zheng, tell us about the situation at that time. How did you meet Major General Li Yizhou and how did you get out? Zhang Feng said with a serious tone. Wang Zheng calmed his emotions down and explained the situation once. After completing his explanation, the whole room quietened down. As a soldier, Zhang Feng and Claudia were giving a solemn salute. Undoubtedly, this was a true hero. Wang Zheng, Major General Li Yizhou's sacrifice wouldn't be in vain. His diary would save countless warriors' life, said Zhang Feng. Major General Li Yizhou was an outstanding representative from our Milky Way Military College. He was the record holder for the youngest captain of a spaceship and was responsible for an important mission when he went missing. I hadn't expected that he was able to complete his mission in the end. Claudia was also feeling emotional. That plan was initially considered to be a complete failure as it had sent the elites of the academy to death. The academy had also paid a high price of it. At that time, the academy was under a lot of pressure, but Li Yizhou had salvaged their glory. Kid, you aren't too bad. The process of your return was also a very valuable experience for us. It was especially so for the understanding of the abyss. It was a pity that there isn't a living specimen," said Butcher. He wished he could build a lab in that place and it wouldn't matter if he couldn't escape from there. Wang Zheng suddenly remembered something. Various professors, since you all know about Senior Li Yizhou, you all would definitely know about his daughter. I wanted to thank her personally. It was her father who saved me. That was the only dying wish of Li Yizhou. As long as he was alive, he would definitely take good care of her. The room was silent again. Wang Zheng sat up straight and continued, "Oh yeah, Senior Li was from the Hail Cloud Alliance. Wang Zheng had the premonition that she might be Snow Li. Truthfully speaking, he didn't know how to face her, but he couldn't hide from it." Claudia sighed gently and said, "Wang Zhenga, the truth was, Major General Li Yizhou wasn't married and didn't have any child." Wang Zheng was stunned. This was impossible. He had a family picture and it should be in his diary. "Please look for it. We must definitely find it." Even Gale, who was always loud, felt helpless. "Wang Zhenga." Zhang Feng took the photo out. "We probably can't give you the diary, but you can keep this photograph." Wang Zheng took over the photograph. On it was a large group photo. The words on it were, "Galaxy Space Fleet T18945, live and die together." In the middle of the photograph was Li Yizhou, "To live and die together." Wang Zheng gritted his teeth and leaned on the bed helpless. He couldn't hold back his tears as they blurred his eyes. Zhang Feng patted on Wang Zheng and signaled for the rest to leave. Everyone didn't know why Li Yizhou would say that. It might be his delusion after being alone for a long time so that he would have a reason to continue living. It might also be because he wanted Wang Zheng to feel attached so that he wouldn't act rashly. Li Yizhou had done everything he could. As for him, all he wanted was to die and live together with his comrades, with his brothers. Lin Weiyan was just outside the door. Her eyes were red and clearly had cried. She had special rights no matter where she was. Under her strong requests, even Zhang Feng had no choice. "Professor Zhang Feng, could I go in to take a look?" Weiyan said softly. The few mentors looked at one another. Zhang Feng nodded his head helplessly. "Yes, you may, but now won't be a good time. He needs some time to be alone." Lin Weiyan nodded her head immediately. "Angela, you can go back. I will just stay here myself." Zhang Feng and the rest had left. They still had too many things to settle. Moreover, they weren't gossipy people and weren't interested in such things. Wang Zheng's records would also have this huge contribution, although he felt that he didn't really done anything, considering the fact that he had brought the diary out and had made the correct judgment on the rubbish Zerg. He had made a great contribution that wouldn't be inferior to achieving victory in any major battle. The school would naturally report everything upwards. Obviously, everything that Li Yizhou had done would be etched in the minds of all soldiers. He would also be one of the most brilliant students of the Milky Way Military College. Weiyan stood outside the door alone and was observing Wang Zheng quietly through the observation glass. She held her small hands tightly together. Outside the place, Zhang Feng was also sending Claudia off with handshakes. "Professor Zhang Feng, we have really gotten a lot from this trip. The students of the Elite Academy had really lived up to their name. I looked forward to the collaboration of our two major academies. Professor Claudia, you have over-complimented us. This was from our shared hard work and dreams. As a warrior, dying on the battlefield is also a form of honor," said Zhang Feng. The Li Yizhou incident had truly shocked the. Zhang Feng was also impressed from the bottom of his heart. Originally, the two major academies had some competitive sparks between them. However, competition was only for raising each other's standards. Claudia was leaving with their representative group. Aina and Meng Tian were also on the fleet. The two of them had received news that Wang Zheng was fine. Meng Tian liked Wang Zheng, but she knew that Wang Zheng at most had good feelings towards her and that wasn't love. Knowing that Wang Zheng was fine was enough for her. After choosing the path of a soldier, it would only be a matter of time to experience such a day. Aina was at the observation platform at the other side. She was looking at the starry region. No one knew what she was thinking of. In the patient's ward, fatigue, sadness and other complicated feelings overwhelmed Wang Zheng. He had already lost consciousness. Beside him, Lin Weiyan was holding onto Wang Zheng's hands and fallen asleep by the bed. Since she knew Wang Zheng was caught in the accident, Weiyan had never slept well. The cute princess was even drooling as she probably had dreamt about eating something nicea. There was obviously no need to hide the incident of Li Yizhou. Obviously the details would not be announced to the public, but without a doubt, a new hero was born. The other party that had benefited was Wang Zheng. Elite Academy had in an elaborate way praised Wang Zheng for the courage and tactfulness he displayed in this mission and bringing back the diary. Rumors had it that because of this incident, Wang Zheng would be awarded the Milky Way Alliance Peace Medal. This was definitely a glorious thing. The Elite Academy was also immersed in a commotion with both compliments and criticisms. Some had said that escaping death would bring about future blessing. Rumors had it that Wang Zheng's body had recovered without any major issues and he should receive the honor in person. He would likely have to rest for a month at least. If he rested for a longer period of time, it should also not be a problem. Therefore Wang Zheng should also possess the right to continue participating in the tournament. It was just that he had missed the preliminary rounds. There seemed to be a problem for him to just enter the finals. However, the school would be giving their explanation on this. There were also a group of people who weren't that happy. In their eyes, what had Wang Zheng done? An inferior pilot was swallowed by a Zerg. He was able to make it back eventually due to Major General Li Yizhou. He was at most just a courier. What was the basis for him to receive such a high honor? To participate in the finals directly, with just his standards, he would definitely be whipped like a dog. After all, there were too many proud and arrogant people in the Elite Academy. People had been putting their all in this place and yet were still eliminated. All he did was to complete a round at the place of the Zergs and he had established merit. Was this fair? The minority who knew the truth would not say anything, at least for now. The information had to be further verified. Moreover, those at the top would not care about these problems too. As the person involved, Wang Zheng was very calm. For someone who had experienced various forms of life and death situations, these doubts were at most a quarrel among kids. Li Yizhou had been a great model for him. It doesn't matter if your dreams were big or small when living as long as you felt that it would be worth it. Zhang Shan and the rest were beyond just happy. When Wang Zheng was discharged, they organized a welcome party for him. Snow Li and his other good friends had all attended. While this place was lively, Lin Weiyan was quarreling with Angela. She also wanted to attend but was stopped by Angela with all her might. Little ancestor, you really cannot go. Why? Are you saying I don't even have personal freedom? Who I befriend is my own business? Lin Weiyan was rather stubborn. Angela didn't know how to respond. It was logical, but this Matera, she couldn't make the decision. It would be fine if it was any other person, even if they might have a lower standing. This would only make others feel that the princess was being approachable. However, the other party was Wang Zheng. This person had become a taboo in the royal family. It was lucky that Aina had performed well this time, otherwise, she wouldn't know what would happen. Lin Weiyan was feeling really complicated. Why were the people around her always so pretentious? Looking at Wang Zheng and his friends, they were living the right way. They could cry when they wish, they could laugh when they wanted, and they could be loud when they felt like it. In the end, Lin Weiyan still didn't go. This was because she didn't want to put Angela in a difficult spot. On Tita Star, the project had also entered the critical stage. The movements of the Lan family were affecting Yan Xiaosu's decision. However, Lan Ling seemed to have lost control. She still couldn't defeat those old people who were using their seniority to gain an advantage. The current mobile armor project was the first move by the Little Lucky Star Tita Star Investment Company. They had to get a good start and create a good momentum. Yan Xiaoshu also couldn't obtain help from Wang Zheng's side in short notice. The truth was that he didn't want it to be this way too. He couldn't add on to Wang Zheng's troubles when he encountered a small issue. It might be alright if it was about something else. No matter how good the relationship was between Wang Zheng and the people of Tita, it would still be dependent on the product in the end. Otherwise, it would only cause the standing of Wang Zheng in the hearts of the people of Tita to continue to fall. Yan Xiaoshu wanted to understand this a little further. He also wanted to prove his own strength and vision. For now, he had to believe in the research and development capabilities of Yi Zisu's team. Yan Xiaoshu might have been praised to the sky by the few rich guys, but his mind was still clear. He didn't really see their loyalty as real. For other firearms dealers, Yan Xiaoshu wasn't very worried. He had confidence in Yi Zisu's design. She had gone deep into the place of the Tita people to understand them and was really designing the mobile armor from the perspective of the Tita people. Her prototype machine had also received great reviews from various levels of the Tita people. This was only the half-completed product and wasn't the completed product with full functionalities. With their relationship with the Tita people now, as long as the standards of the product were equivalent, the chances of them winning the bid were extremely high. However, they had to be careful of the Lan family. When compared with the Lan family, little Lucky Star no longer had any advantage. He had not expected to become competitors of the Lan family in the end, but this was business after all. Brother Yan, the Lan family has not made their moves. Initially, the Meteor and Thor organization had the highest chance. However, they didn't have any signs of collaboration with the Lan family at this moment. The meeting between Lan Ling and Lei Fan from the Thor organization was also cancelled. Jasper's attention on the investment company was only second to Yan Xiaoshu. Yan Xiaoshu was the core, the heart, while he was the skeleton. The company was formed using his connection network. If he was to fail, not only would he be embarrassed, but his ability to plan for the big picture would be in doubt by his family. Putting it in another way, he was different from the others. Jasper's fate had unknowingly been intertwined with the Tita Investment Company. That's great. If we succeed this time, the company would really be able to grow bigger and stronger. Yan Xiaoshu heaved a long sigh. Tomorrow would be the bidding day and the prototype machine had been manufactured since yesterday. Everyone had taken a look and had the same opinion on it. This time, the bid was definitely theirs as long as the Lan family did not interfere. However, even if the Lan family had interfered, their model would still hold the advantage. Gabra had opened a bottle of champagne. Let's have a toast. I have just seen the prototype with Pila. I have the feeling that we would definitely succeed. Pila smiled. That's right. Gabra smiled. It is rare to see Pila so focused. I had thought that he was only interested in beautiful ladies. D*MNU. I'm equally interested in money. Pila had raised his wine glass. He squinted his eyes and had a very different smile. Yan Xiaoshu also drank a glass and relaxed himself. Great, tomorrow would be the real battlefield. Everyone please rest early. The last toast. A toast. At night, Yan Xiaoshu forced himself into sleep. Jasper also fell asleep alone. Since he had arrived on Tita Titan Star, this was the first time there wasn't a woman who slept with him. Gabra also lost interest in his beautiful secretary. The bidding tomorrow would be a fierce battle and he had to preserve his energy. The most lustful Pila was also alone. However, he wasn't in his pajamas but was wearing a suit. It seemed that he was waiting for something. Ring ring, the Skylink was blinking. Pila immediately connected his Skylink. A white person wearing a black suit appeared in the video conference. Mr. Pila. Good evening, Mr. Duff. Regarding the transaction we have been discussing. Duff smiled gently. It had been done. Hope we have a happy collaboration. Mr. Duff's reputation is well known throughout the entire Commerce Alliance. You are indeed decisive. Pila was smiling very happily. Brothers, nonsense. They were just a group of friends for food and women. It was still all right to play women together. When it came to business, he obviously wanted to be a boss. If this thing went through, it would also be Jasper who would receive the most benefits. However, it was different now. As compared to choosing Little Lucky Star, which did not have connections and foundation, he would rather hop onto the side of the Lan family. Together with Mr. Duff's influence, this would be the route to success. In the business world, the fastest way was to step on the corpse of your opponents. He was the youngest and therefore wanted to smash those blocking his ways to the floor. Bidding day. On this day, it was as lively as a festival. The entire Tita Star was paying attention to this bidding. All the company's final design proposal had been submitted earlier. The elders of the Tita people was verifying them seriously. Time was passing by a little by a little. After a few hours, it had entered the discussion stage. It seemed that the internal quarrels within the Tita people were also a little intense. Mu Sen's expression was a little stern. Lan Ling smiled gently. The results are out. We would now like to invite Governor Mu Sen to announce the final winning company. Mu Sen stood up and took a look at the crowd. Everyone was filled with anticipation. The one who won the bid was the Duff organization. Their design of the magic kinetic armor had received the majority of the approval votes and had fully considered the body conditions of the Tita giants. It had also considered the use of soft materials for the joints area to maximize coverage. Moreover, it had aptly made use of their understanding of the body conditions of the Tita giants when adding in a small energy shield device. This would aid the Tita people in walking out of Tita Star and be involved in the various matters of the Milky Way Alliance. There were organizations that were happy while others were sad. When they heard about the results, Yi Zisu and Yan Xiaoshu was feeling more than being struck by lightning. Not only was that because that they had failed, but because the design of the other party was exactly the same as theirs. The concept map on the screen was completely the same, it was just it had a little more decorations on the external side. How could there be such a coincidence? The decision of the Tita people was clear. Duff was slight better. Moreover, his organization had the strength and was well funded. This was something that a company like Little Lucky Star couldn't compete. As for favors, the Tita elders had believed that they had repaid whatever that had to be repaid. Moreover, this company couldn't represent Wang Zheng. If Wang Zheng was here personally, it wouldn't matter if it was awarded to him. However, the question was Wang Zheng had never been asked about this matter. Considering things from the point of view of benefits to the Tita people, it had to be Duff. Moreover, the cost proposal by Duff was more beneficial than Little Lucky Star by a lot. This was a lethal blow. The only one wearing a slightly peaceful smile was Pila. Jasper's face had darkened. The first reaction was there must be a problem. The commerce field was just like the battlefield. He didn't have evidence and there would be no use. Saying it out would only cause his family to ridicule him as childish and couldn't achieve bigger things. The outcome would be worse. If a person was so easily scammed, she would be more useless than failing. On the stage, Lan Yu and Duff was basking in all the attention and glory. This incident had proven that to do business on Tita Star, you would still need the Lan family. Yan Xiaosu's face had darkened and stern. The real problem had arrived now. Everyone, I know that everyone is tired from waiting. We will be taking a half-hour break now. Everyone could have some drinks and desserts with flavors of the Tita Star in the hall. The official signing ceremony will be held half an hour later. At the same time, there is a surprise waiting for everyone, said Lan Ling. Many businessmen who were around were surrounding Duff and Lan Yu in particular. All those who were here were all very smart. The failure of one project wouldn't amount to anything. As long as they could be connected to Lan Yu, there would always be projects to do. Lan Ling was on the stage. This head of the family in name was looking more like an MC. In the VIP room, Yan Xiaoshu, Yi Zisu and the rest were looking dull and stern. The room was all quiet. After some time, Gabra finally spoke. Jasper, we were in this because we trusted you. See what it had become. We have all become jokes. How could we continue running this company? Our family was still waiting for my good news. It's great now that I have become the joke, said Mitchell as he shook his head helplessly. Pila was looking stern. The other party had clearly gotten hold of our proposal. This matter is worse than failing. It was really embarrassing. This was also where others felt despondent. However, even if they wished to investigate, how did they do it? There were too many people who came into contact with this proposal, such as Yi Zisu's team, the Tita tribes and those that were present. To ensure effectiveness, Yi Zisu had asked for the opinions of numerous giants and even the wise ones previously. All these were areas where the proposal could have been leaked. For professionals, all they needed were to have a general direction to continue their setup. How could we be so naive in doing business? I wouldn't want to continue with this anymore, said Mitchell. Jasper, you have to give me an explanation. That's also what I mean. Jasper, it is still all right for me to lose the money I spent on women. However, now that I have become the joke, how can we settle this? Said Pila. It isn't that your brother isn't being kind. This fatty looks just like a local bandit. Even if others had stolen our design, what about his connections? What about his network? This was straight to the point. Yan Xiaoshu looked down and didn't say a word. Jasper took a look, gritted his teeth and said, I would admit that I had failed in this. Sell your stakes to me and I will cover your losses. As for the penalties, let's do it the traditional way. Gabra, what's your view? Would you want to continue playing with him? Asked Pila. We are all friends. Aren't you going a bit too far by doing so? Didn't we just lose some money? It's not a big deal, replied Gabra. Haha, CK organization could indeed speak louder with its deeper pockets. You guys can continue playing slowly. I won't be following. Mitchell laughed. Since Jasper had covered his loss, they shouldn't go overboard and should stop when the situation was advantageous to them. Following which, the two of them left chatting happily. The room quietened down once again. Jasper sighed, it seemed that I wasn't a complete failure as a person. At least I made a friend. Gabra shook his head helplessly. Losing some money is a small matter. The main issue was that this was too embarrassing. I would probably be mocked for a period of time. However, to be in business, my skin couldn't be that thin. I just have to climb up from where I fell. Yi Zisou clapped her hands lightly and said, Great, there's no longer any external people. Now would be commencement of the official meeting of Little Lucky Star Tita Star Branch. It has already come to this. What meeting do we need? Jasper definitely had some complaints. It was just that he didn't know who to talk to at this moment. The wretched-looking Sue, who had his head lowered all along, lifted his head and revealed a smile. Jasper, don't be in a rush. Wasn't the contract not signed yet? What were you worrying about? Jasper and Gabra was stunned. They didn't know what Yan Xiaoshu wanted to do. Yi Zisou smiled. It's about time. I would like you all to witness a show. Jasper and Gabra were baffled. What kind of mysterious things were they still doing at this moment? However, the two of them no longer had the strength to quarrel. The guests of the signing conference had arrived one after another. Below the stage, Duff and Lan Yu were having a casual and happy chat and were waiting for Mu Sen's opening. Mu Sen's gaze swept across the crowd. I would like to thank everyone for being here. The construction of the Tita Star would require everyone's joint effort. No matter if there were enough opportunities for cooperation, I would like to represent the people of Tita and expressed our gratitude. Everyone was clapping as Mu Sen took a bow. The people of Tita's thoughts on doing business are actually not that complicated. There is only one thing, and that is honesty. Anyone who employs schemes to try to earn a profit on Tita Star would not be welcome. Instantly, everyone below the stage was whispering to one another. This opening didn't seem right. At this moment, the big screen lighted Upa. Wasn't that person in the screen Duff and Lan Yu? There was also another person, and surprisingly, he was Pila. The contents of their conversation and the process of their transaction had been recorded. Lan Yu's arrogance, derogatory words on Lan Ling about her being just a brat and that he should be the patriarch, contents about the people of Tita having to suck up to him, and other related comments had been recorded. As for Pila, he had insulted Yi Zisou and the rest. They were trying to reap the benefits of the hard work put in by the others. How great it was. Lan Yu and his group of people had turned into stone. As for Pila, he was completely stunned. Tita Star would not welcome these type of people. Therefore, we had decided to sign the armor project with Little Lucky Star Company. At the same time, we hope that Miss Yi Zisou could accept our sincere apologies. The crystals of knowledge are also precious on Tita Star and should be protected. Mu Sen's stature might be small, but every word was loud and clear. Lan Ling also stood up. As the matriarch of the Lan family and a committee member of the Milky Way Alliance, I apologize on behalf of this person from my family. Anyone who violates the rules of the Tita Star would face heavy punishment without fail. At this moment, no one dared to treat this matriarch as just an ornament. Who knew about the role she played in this? This was probably a complete trap. Jasper and Gabra were dumbfounded as they looked at Yan Xiaoshu. Fatty Yan smiled and said, "How was it? Did you feel that Brother Yan wasn't a reliable person to do things?" Only Jasper and Gabra themselves would know how much trust they had for Yan Xiaoshu. However, at this moment, they really felt that their decision was wise. If you all are responsible, I will also be responsible for my actions. Rest assured, our plans on Tita Star have just begun. Let's sign the contract first. We have a dinner appointment with Mu Sen in a while. Yan Xiaoshu waved his hands and no longer had the finished looks he had previously. Jasper and Gabra looked at each other and could tell the surprise in the other party's eyes. This definitely meant that they had become the comrades of Yan Xiaoshu. The parties that had real control over Tita Star were still Mu Sen and Lan Ling. The two of them was probably making use of this opportunity to reorganize the people within the Lan family and amongst the people of Tita. The relationship between them was definitely not simply measured by interests. The truth was that Jasper felt conflicted previously. He also wanted to just take the easy way out, and it wasn't that he had not thought about it. However, in the end he felt that as a man, he should at least be responsible. Wasn't failure the mother of success? This phrase was really the truth. This brother was still the most reliable. After securing a full victory, Yan Xiaoshu was calm instead. He didn't tell Wang Zheng about the conflicted thoughts he had. From this incident, he had learned to be responsible. When faced with a difficult problem, as long as he could solve it himself, he would have to do so. However, he had received news from Zhang Shan that Wang Zheng had returned. It was just that from the tone of Zhang Shan, Wang Zheng had probably returned from a highly life-threatening event. When compared with what Wang Zheng had experienced, Yan Xiaoshu felt that what he had experienced was nothing. Step by step, Yan Xiaoshu's mind was maturing. The elite academy was facing a problem now. That was if they should allow Wang Zheng to enter the tournament to fight for the mech. The elite academy was an elite academy after all. In the campus poll, surprisingly, 80% of the people opposed the idea. Although he had rendered meritorious service, he was still late in the end. Moreover, the tournament had already entered the final stage. For him to just enter the finals suddenly, it would not be fair to those participants who were eliminated. In addition, although the academy had thought that Wang Zheng had rendered a huge meritorious service, a lot of students didn't feel that it was the merit of Wang Zheng. Any unlucky person who fell in would be able to return with the help of Li Yizhou. Basically, Wang Zheng was just picking up the merit of Li Yizhou. Although they couldn't say that Wang Zheng did not make any contribution, there wasn't a need to exaggerate things so much. This had made Zhang Feng feel rather embarrassed. He had originally thought that the students would agree to it, but this had resulted in such a scenario. Currently, for the 5 main battle groups, the victor for the first, third and fifth battle group had already been identified. Martsu, Olivius and Lear had already obtained the qualification. One lucky thing was that the second battle group where Wang Zheng was in had not been finalized yet. The truth was that the main thing that made the students feel complicated wasn't about who won and lost. All those were all superficial. The most practical thing was the runic mech. Although no one really believed that Wang Zheng would emerge as the champion of the group, this was a matter of fairness. Simply put, the elites just weren't feeling happy about it. Surprisingly, the favorite in the second battle group, Hakatelan from Aslan, had opened his mouth. He felt that they could arrange another qualification match for Wang Zheng by selecting an eliminated participant from the second battle group to battle with him. The victor could have the rights to fight the winner between Hakatelan and Reddington. The other finalist, Reddington, had also agreed to the proposal. The problem with Wang Zheng's qualification to participate in the tournament was eventually able to be solved quickly. The first match was between Tempest and Mondo from the fourth battle group. The king of the Azure Dragon region demonstrated astonishing battle strength in defeating Mondo and obtained the slot for the fourth runic mech. The king of the Azure Dragon didn't use any special ability X to defeat his opponent. He had shown the difference of their strength. As a result, Zan and Yellow were equally good now. The 2 stars from the White Tiger, Van Brothers, Olivius and Martsu. From the Azure Dragon region, Tempest, and from the Black Tortoise region, Lear. The second battle group was initially considered as the weaker group but had suddenly become the main battle stage as everyone's attention was on them. Wang Zheng's semi-final opponent had seemed to struck lottery, though was equivalent to a revival round. In the end, Zhao Zhengzhen from Aslan had obtained the qualification. As a strong participant from the Zan grade class 1, he was eliminated by his comrade from the same country, king of the Vermilion Bird region, Hakatelan, in the semi-finals. He was probably the one who felt the most dispirited and had not expected to obtain a chance like this. The truth was that he didn't mind if he could get into the finals. However, he could never allow a person like Wang Zheng to enter the finals directly. Everyone from Aslan had treated Wang Zheng as their biggest enemy. This was because this guy seemed to be really close with Your Highness, Lin Weiyan. This was something that the people of Aslan, who were rather obsessive, could not accept. The qualification round started first. The number of spectators weren't any less than those in the finals. Disregarding the full house watching it live, the broadcasting channels of the two academies were also filled with people. Clearly what attracted the attention of the Milky Way Military College was the incident with Lee Yijo. The deeds of Major General Lee Yijo had spread across the academy and he had become the superhero of the Milky Way Military College. Wang Jung was clearly the guy who brought these deeds of the heroes open to the public. The people from the Milky Way Military College wanted to see the standards of this lucky guy. I heard that if it wasn't because of him being a burden, Major General Lee Yijo might have returned alive. If I was him, I might as well just die inside that place. Enough, stop your B*Ching. If he could come out, he probably had experienced a life and death situation. It isn't as simple as you all had thought. Tisk. We can't verify the truth with the dead. Who knew what the real situation was like? I wouldn't believe that the abyss was really that terrifying. Students were a group of living things that liked gossip. The more elite they were, the more it was so. They always liked to see everything from their own perspective. Wang Jung didn't mind all these. If he couldn't withstand these, Lee Yijo would have really died in vain. Just like before, Old Joe was the failure of the Milky Way Military College as he lost an entire fleet with no survivors. Now that he had become a hero, would Old Joe mind? Zhang Shan and the rest had all arrived at the stadium. They were a little worried about Wang Jung's body condition. The truth was that he did not have to participate in it. There were too many people who were jealous of him. This was because most of the people had not been to the abyss before and wouldn't understand the situation of the main base camp of the Zerg. They always thought that things would be as they thought. At this moment, it was better for Wang Jung to lie low. However, Wang Jung still wanted to participate. As long as he lived, he had to be like Old Joe. Wang Jung, if I was you, I wouldn't be part of this qualifying round. One should know his own strength. Zhao Zhongjin from the opposite side started the conversation. If I was at the abyss, I would definitely return with a killing spree and not be like you. Zhao Zhongjin was using the public channel. Instantly, the stadium and viewing rooms exploded. This was an open taunt. Zhang Feng and the rest frowned. They were the ones who really knew about the dangers of the abyss. However, they had neglected something. These students had been too well nourished and simply didn't know about the dangers of the abyss. They could simply forget about talking about the main base camp of the Zerg as this was an area that even the military had never arrived. Martsu and the rest were silent. Olivius was without any expression. The people of Arbiter had a unique characteristic and that was to never care about what others would think. If anyone wasn't convinced, they would just beat him till he agreed. If I was Wang Jung, I would shut their mouth forever, said Olivius calmly although his killing intent was spilling everywhere. Hee. Violence would not shut the mouths of the crowd, Lear said with a gentle smile from the side. As the victor, Lear naturally was sitting at the frontmost row and was enjoying the position and joy of a victor. He was waiting for the start of the competition with the mentality of watching a show. Olivius took a look at Lear while Lear was still full of smiles. However, the two of them didn't continue on this topic. On the battlefield, the two of them had finished picking their mecha. Zhao Zhongjin had chosen the Icy Rose Knight from Aslan. Zhao Zhongjin entered the elite academy together with Hokatelin and they were once considered to be the twin shining stars of Aslan. However, Hokatelin's improvements were truly too fast. Hokatelin specialized in fire while Zhao Zhongjin specialized in the power of ice. His attainment in this aspect was definitely number one in the entire Zon grade level in the elite academy. It was just that the improvement of his ice ability wasn't as quick as fire. This was something that Snowli and the rest knew clearly. Ai Xiaolu had even asked Zhao Zhongjin for advice previously. She could not fight at all against him. With the same ability, she was still being countered completely. Honestly speaking, they didn't want Wang Jung to participate in this tournament at all. On one hand, Wang Jung's body still needed to recover. On the other hand, it was too dangerous. There were many people who wanted to thrash Wang Jung to gain fame. If Wang Jung lost, it would only further verify the rumors. His ineptness had caused Li Yijo to be unable to escape. The imagination of humans was plentiful. Throughout history till today, Humans had been able to distort the truth and others would believe them if there were enough people saying it. Wang Zheng had chosen. Snowly and the rest were stunned. Those who knew Wang Zheng were dumbfounded. Why would he choose this? Hail Cloud Alliance, Snow Goddess Mech. This was one of the more classic mecha within the Hail Cloud Alliance. However, it was also one that was more suitable to the local landscape of the Hail Cloud Alliance. It was suitable in an icy and snowy battleground, but its performance was extremely bad in other types of environment. And yet Wang Zheng had decided to choose this mech in this battlefield. Zhang Shan was even more dumbfounded. This was because he knew that Wang Zheng had never used such a mech before. Even if he had used before, he would have never practiced much in it previously. Wei Yan was also at the stadium. It was really hard to maintain her image of a princess. She wanted to jump around and wished to scream and shout. She wanted to defend Wang Zheng against the injustice, but Angela was restraining her with all her might from the side. Angela's sweat was dripping down one by one. Oh God, please don't let her get into trouble. Her Highness might not understand this. The better she treated Wang Zheng, the more people would be jealous of and hate Wang Zheng. He was a victim of his talents. Zhao Zhengjin sniggered. He knew that Wang Zheng seemed to be able to use the Ice ability X and also possessed the Fire ability X. It might seem something really cool, but in fact this was a classic case of useless abilities. The more he learnt, the more useless he was. However, if he was using them in a circus, it was still rather eye-catching. Zhang Feng and the rest looked at one another. They were able to understand. Wang Zheng probably wanted to show respect to Li Yizhou with this mech. However, failure would not show that he was showing respect. Some things weren't appropriate to come from the mouth of Zhang Feng and the rest for Wang Zheng. The more they tried to explain, the more it would look they were trying to hide something. If you wished to earn the respect of others, the best was still to talk through one's strength. Therefore, when Wang Zheng requested to continue to participate in the tournament, Zhang Feng had wanted to stop him, but he couldn't argue with Wang Zheng. How should he put it? He wished Wang Zheng could be more mature and rational. However, he also admired Wang Zheng's sense of humanity. From the side, Gale was whooping and cheering, egging Wang Zheng on. Ling Luoyu and Mo Ling hurriedly held him back. Grandpa, are you even looking at the situation? Wang Zheng is no match for Zhao Zhenjian. Who says you can only cheer when you have a chance of winning? I just like the way this guy welcomes difficulties head-on. Gale puffed. What do you two young wenches know? Your eye for people is still lacking. Gale took on the age-experience stance, and dismissed Ling Luoyu and Mo Ling out of hand. Wang Zheng rode out on the snow goddess. The crowd muttered, evidently thinking that Wang Zheng was about to disgrace the mecha. Zhao Zhenian's icy rose mech activated as well. The corner of his mouth twitched. All the momentum was with him now. He would teach this little brat a lesson today. As the icy rose suddenly charged towards Wang Zheng, the entire arena was filled with chilly air. Ability X? Zhao Zhenjian was surprised. Was he trying to show off in front of the master himself? This brat's ability could only make a thin sheet of ice on the floor. Was he trying to make him slip? Did Wang Zheng think this was a child skating, a joke? The icy rose mecha was completely unaffected. Rising in midair, it poured on the frost like an avalanche. Given Zhao Zhenian's B-rank frost ability, one's body would instantly freeze if the opponent was of a lower rank. Against such small fry opponents, Zhao Zhenjian felt there was just no challenge. And the snow goddess sat there as if petrified, only raising its head. Thesa was Wang Zheng trying to pull his leg, but in that instant, the entire arena fell silenta. Frozina following the gaze of the snow goddess, the icy rose mecha had been completely iced over in an instant, becoming a huge glacial statue that clattered in front of the snow goddess. From start to end, the snow goddess had not moved. Under the bright lights, the icy rose mecha looked vivid. Martsu and the rest narrowed their eyes. How was this possible? From the start of the battle, Wang Zheng had not said a single word, he just stared at the sky. Old Joe, rest easy, he would continue to walk his path as he saw fit. The alarms rang. This was a scenario where the mecha pilot's life was at risk. The paramedic mechas had already rushed over, booted the ice wall could not be cut open. Wang Zheng's gaze returned to the present. With a wave of the snow goddess hand, the iceberg exploded. The medical personnel all shuddered in the cold, then hurriedly rushed in to extract Zhao Zhenjian. A C rank ability X user had actually beaten a higher rank user of the same affinity. This was unnatural. Those who had just been muttering were all silent now. What power was this? Lear's face was especially ugly. After persevering and improving himself for so long, he had finally come out of Wang Zheng's shadow, but it had not been long, and Wang Zheng was already a. In terms of direct control, a C rank ability freezing a B rank ability was not possible, but Wang Zheng's mastery of frost was already way above Zhao Zhenjian. The frost power that Zhao Zhenjian's ability X had gathered had been used by Wang Zheng. This was the final mastery. Martsu and the rest saw the disbelief mirrored in each other. This was something only Earth grade was capable of. The same thought had occurred to Zhang Feng. This was impossible. No one had ever heard of a C rank ability user attaining such revelations. In the quiet mood, a bellow was suddenly heard. Zhang Shan had leapt directly out of his chair. Do you see that, scrubs? This is Wang Zheng's power, you trash. Zhang Shan had long been irritated by the dratted chatter around him. A bunch of trash. How dare they doubt Wang Zheng when they themselves were rubbish? As for their anger, Zhang Shan was completely unfazed. If looks could kill, then no one would come to elite college. The doubt definitely lingered. When Princess Weiyan lifted her head to applaud, the applause followed, but many students still did not comprehend what had just happened. At this moment, Zhang Feng stood up from the main stage. Let me explain. The first wave of ice from Snow Goddess just now was merely a preliminary test, controlling the space within the ice wall. And when the icy rose made its move, his ability X was completely within Wang Zheng's grasp. This phenomenon is what the textbooks call stealing from the heavens. In that instant, there was an uproar from everybody, whether live or through broadcast. Stealing from the heavens was the most terrifying level of repression. It meant that as long as the opponent was of the same affinity as you, and the rank difference did not exceed by more than 2, one would be reduced to a helpless baby against an opponent that could do so. I heard that there is no exit from the Abyss hinterland. Think about it. Major General Li Yizhou has been inside for more than 10 years without coming out until Wang Zheng appeared. No matter how powerful Wang Zheng is, he can't bring someone along as well. Perhaps he helped to stop the worm's attack. Suddenly, they realized a problem. Major General Li Yizhou was already advanced in years and was 50 plus. And spending such a long time in the abyss was damaging to one's body. He had already been withered beyond recognition. Suddenly the mood changed, and a majority were in support of Wang Zheng. Only, Wang Zheng did not care. He would use this victory to honor old Zhou. He would not bury all that old Zhou had taught him in the abyss. Moreover, he would teach it to Snowli and the rest. Old Zhou was of the Hail Cloud Alliance. This was also their heritage. For the qualifiers, nobody had predicted this outcome, or the process that had led to it. Closely following, the next match was Hockadelin against Reddington. Lear alone remained in an incomparably foul mood. He had completely felt Wang Zheng's greatness. Although he had confidence in himself as well, but inexplicably when facing Wang Zheng, he always felt that he could only win when he already had an advantage. He had thought that Wang Zheng was already wasted. How had his control of ability X sudden improved by such leaps and bounds in such a short time? To be capable of pulling off what he did just now, his understanding of the frost ability must be fairly high. Could it be Li Yizhou's teachings? That old guy who just could not die. When he died, he still continued to be a presence. Although he kept a smile on his face, but he was thinking of something else entirely. He could not let Wang Zheng get the runic mecha. Reddington did not care about Wang Zheng anymore. It was time for his battle. If he defeated Hockadelin, he would be the new god. Reddington was full of confidence. A similar elemental B rank ability, and frost beat fire, he was not afraid. But the match had commenced for barely 5 minutes, and Reddington was being beaten by Hockadelin like a dog with its tail between its legs. Attack, he could barely defend. Control, he had truly been conceited. Any type of control was contextual. Their understanding of ability X was completely on a different level. With Hockadelin's level of control, he only had to use 50% power to send Reddington rolling on the floor. And Reddington's greatest problem was his physical condition. At the level of the top 4, each's physical constitution was excellent, and their battle experience profound. This was actual battle, not a practice. In battle, these things translated to an enormous advantage. Before long, Reddington had been cleaved apart by Hawkatelin. Reddington's dreams of winning the battle group popped like a bubble. What Reddington could not bear was that his opponent and the audience had no reaction at all, because in their eyes, he was but second fiddle, and the outcome was obvious. His prancing and capering was clownish. Even Snowly and her friends did not have the heart to laugh at Reddington. Even if he was once cool, this was the difference between people. Hawkatelin's thoughts were completely not on this battle. His opponent was Wang Jung. As for Wang Jung's appearance, Hawkatelin was very happy that he was not a pushover. If the opponent was too weak, then the battle had no meaning. Stealing from the heavens sounded interesting. He wanted to see how Wang Jung would steal his ability. Princess Weian must have some hero worship feelings. Everybody knew that she loved the arts, and took a liking to the weak and vulnerable. Wang Jung was plagued by difficulties and hardships, and yet he could not die. He had ability as well, and definitely stimulated attraction for the princess. Just like how one developed a taste for bland tofu after eating too much rich food. Therefore, with one battle, Wang Jung was back in form. Among all the abilities, only fire had no limit.